welcome to our special year-end episode of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. I'm Dr. Richard Madow, co-founder of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success, and what a year it's been. I know so many of you have had fabulous years in your practices, others maybe not so great, some were struggling a bit, but whatever the case, we're all here right now, and I've got some great stuff today for our special end of the year episode that will help you in your practice and your life. I promise, whether you're a dentist, a team member, a student, an innocent bystander, whatever you are, don't go anywhere, because this will be a super special year-end episode of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. That also means we're not going to be doing any mystery shopper calls this week, but don't worry, they'll be back really soon, but you got to stick with me and you'll see why in just a minute. I also want to remind you that you should reference our show notes. We've got 5 very important links on the show notes that you don't want to miss. And one of them is something that will allow you to sign up for our newsletter. That's right, at the Madow Center, we do a newsletter 4 to 5 times per week. It's an e-letter. Just takes you a minute or two to read. Usually I'm the one who writes them, and I've got, of course, information and updates on webinars, seminars, different things that can help you and your practice, but also some great dental stories that will make you think, things you can use at a team meeting, all kinds of great stuff. So go to madow.com/newsletter, madow.com/newsletter to sign up. It's free, of course. We'll never ask you to pay for our newsletter. And not only is it free, but you can win a Dental Practice Fixers coffee mug, because we do drawings among all the people who have signed up for our newsletter, and some lucky person gets a Dental Practice Fixers coffee mug. So you don't want to miss that. Also, at the end of the year, I think it's a great time to thank our podcast sponsor, Stacks. The reason I asked Stacks to sponsor the podcast is that we use them at the Madow Center, and I would never recommend something that I didn't personally use and was familiar with and very, very happy with. We use Stacks for our credit card processing because we just pay that low, flat monthly fee for our processing, not that nasty overage percentage. We have saved thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, without question, over the years by using Stacks, and you should use them in your dental practice too. Just go to madow.com/save, M-A-D, easy for me to say, madow.com/SAVE. And somebody from Stacks can reach out to you and let you know exactly how much you will save every month. So definitely a cool thing to do. Go with Stacks, save every month. Wow. Just made up a slogan that is totally not official, but check them out. Go to madow.com/save. So I mentioned before that we send out e-newsletters several times per week. I sent out one maybe about a week ago and got a great response to it. And I thought maybe I would expand upon that e-letter for our end of the year podcast. It was called 15 Rules of Life, or it might have been called 16 Rules of Life. I don't even remember how many numbers, but they were my rules, Rich's rules. I made a list of 16 things, just little slogans, phrases, whatever, to go by, things that are really meaningful to me, and I know they helped a lot of our readers as well, because I got incredible feedback. Okay, I didn't write one of them. One of them was written by Bob Dylan, but the rest of them are my rules. And I thought it might be a great idea today to go through those rules, and I'll read them, and they were meant to be more like life rules, not necessarily dental practice rules. But as I was getting responses from our newsletter readers, I realized that all of these rules also had dental office lessons for dentists and team members to help you in your practice, to practice happier and treat your patients better, grow your revenues, all those good things. So in this edition of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast, this very special edition of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast, I'm going to read each rule. And then, of course, you can interpret how that functions in your life, what it means to you, how you can utilize that rule. Because, just like anything else, anything can be interpreted for your own personal situation. But then for most of them, I'll give you a dental situation as well, just to kind of get you kick-started in how to use these rules. Does that make sense? Okay, let's go. Rule number 1 is always listen to someone else's opinion or side of the story. No matter how much you dislike what you're hearing, at least try to understand the other person's viewpoint. And obviously in life, these days with politics especially, but anything else, everybody's so opinionated and so divided, and often you'll hear something that will just turn you off immediately. And I'm going to ask you, just open your mind, clear your ears, and just listen. And even if you will never agree, at least try to understand where that person's coming from. Now, the dental office interpretation of this is sometimes patients will complain about their bill, about their insurance coverage, their copay, treatment outcome, whatever it is, and we immediately go on the defensive. And when that happens, I'm just going to ask you to just stop, take a little break, and just listen. Even if you are 99.9999999 repeating percent sure that patient is wrong, it will really help you in dealing with them if you try to understand their point of view, whether you agree with it or not, whether it's factually correct or not. It doesn't matter. Just listen clearly. Don't interrupt. Don't think of what the next thing you're going to say is. Just listen with the goal of understanding their point of view, right or wrong. This is not about right or wrong. It's about understanding another person. So that's rule number one. Okay, rule number two. Everything great started with a dream and someone saying it couldn't be done. You kind of flash back to the old story of Fred Smith, who was in business school, I think in the 60s, might have been Harvard Business School, wrote his thesis, his master's or his PhD thesis about a plan he had. He thought of this incredible plan that he could start a company that would ship anything, anywhere in the continental U.S. at that time, guaranteed overnight. And of course, his business school professor told him a million reasons why it wouldn't work. And as you know, or may know, he went on to be the founder of FedEx. So I think he did pretty well for himself. But everything great starts with somebody telling you it can't be done. And, same thing with your dental practice. Whatever you want to do in your practice, there's always somebody who's jealous or who doesn't have the same vision that you do, telling you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Don't listen to them. You can do it. Okay, rule number three, Rich's rule number three is never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. Oh, I love this rule. I use this so many times in my life. As a matter of fact, not that long ago, a very well-known dental KOL, key opinion leader, kind of somebody in the same thing that I do. He lectures, he coaches, he writes, all those things. Really great guy. Texted me or messaged me confidentially and said somebody is really giving him a hard time online. They're beating up on him. It was another KOL, kind of a KOL wannabe. They're criticizing him. They're telling him he's a jerk. They're telling him he's a liar in public forums and in private. They're trying to bully him. And my advice was never wrestle with the pig. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. So just ignore them or just say, thanks for your opinion. Have a great day, whatever. This rule really applies. For example, if a patient leaves you a bad review online, our first instinct is to fight with them online, get into an online peeing contest, as some people might call it. Tell them they were wrong. That never happened. This is what happened. Well, you know what? You're never going to win a battle like that because that person has more time on their hands than you do. And it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. They're sitting in their basement or their parents' basement, more likely, just banging out garbage on the internet all day. Why do you ever want to get involved in a confrontation with someone like that? You can't win. If you have, I recommend ignoring it and just getting as many good reviews as you can so it kind of sinks to the bottom. But if you have to respond, I would just say something very generic like, thanks so much for reaching out. Beth from our office has already been in touch with you, and we look forward to seeing you soon to remedy this situation. Just something generic like that, just to let anybody reading know that you did reach out, you're trying to remedy whatever the situation was. But don't wrestle with the pig. You both get dirty, and the crazy thing is the pig likes it. They love it. Okay, Rich's rule number 4. When someone keeps telling you how honest they are, it's time to start counting your spoons. I mean, this, of course, goes back to the old days when we had house guests who would steal our silver spoons, maybe back in like Dickinsonian times. But the lesson lives on. For some reason, people who keep telling you how honest they are, they didn't do it or they're so ethical, if they just overdo it, kind of gets my radar up a little bit. And maybe a dental office interpretation of that will be, and we've all had this happen, somebody applies for a position in your practice and they submit their resume And you can tell they just go from dental office to dental office. They've been in many different dental offices working over the last few years, and they always have a reason why. It's always the doctor's fault or the team's fault or someone's fault. It's never their doing, but there's always a reason why they kept going from office to office to office. Well, I think if that happens, it's time to start counting your spoons. Okay, Rich's rule number 5. Most doors in life are closed, and to get in, your knock better be different than everyone else's. And it's so true. Many doors are closed, but you can get in, but you can't have the same knock on the doors every single other person trying to open that door. So in your dental office, this is a great exercise to do at a team meeting. You know, there's so many dental practices. How's yours different? How's your knock different, so to speak? And I would say, let's call a team meeting and talk about questions like, what do we do different and better than every other dental practice out there? And how can we let our patients know about this? How can we do it even better? This is a question I love. Why would a patient or a potential patient drive past 10 other dental practices to go to yours? I do it. I probably drive past 30 dental practices. I could walk to 10. I live in the middle of Baltimore City. I could walk to 10. I could drive to 50. I drive past many to go to the office where I go. And I could tell you many, many reasons why. So if you can't come up with reasons, let's think of some things we can do to make it so somebody would drive past 10 or 20 practices to go to yours. Kind of the opposite way to look at this question, which I love also, is if a patient stopped going to your practice, what would they miss? What would they miss out on that they can't get in other dental practices? So this is a great exercise to do at a team meeting based on Rich's rule number 5. Most doors in life are closed, and to get in, your knock better be different than everyone else's. Okay, rule number 6. Don't dwell on the past. There's no future in it. Man, do we get bogged down in the past. Obviously, in our personal lives, this is a huge lesson. In our dental practices, I can't stand it when I'm in a practice as a coach consultant, or one of our great coaches is in there, and they hear the old phrase, we've always done it this way. Well, why are we doing it this way? Because we've always done it this way. That is the worst excuse ever. Things can always be improved, especially things that aren't working all that well. You're just getting mediocre results, maybe because you've always done it that way. So stop that phrase. Get rid of that phrase. And remember, don't dwell in the past. There's just no future in it. Okay, number 7. I love this one. Number 7, expect the best from people. They just might surprise you. I think so many times our expectations of our team members or our patients are kind of mediocre or kind of low. Oh, this patient's going to no-show, or they're never going to get that treatment. I know they're never going to say yes to scaling and root planing. They don't understand it. They can't afford it. Or team members too. We just expect the minimum from them, and sometimes we're happy if we get that. That is not good enough. Expect the best from people. Team members, the best team members, I'm sure those of you who are listening are the best team members, love to be challenged, love to learn, love to try new things. The very best of the best, throw them a challenge. Get them out of their comfort zone. Get them to do something they've never done before. Not only will it improve your practice, of course, but it will improve that person's attitude and their willingness to go to work every day and try something and enjoy what they do. Challenge people. They just might surprise you. Same with your patients. Challenge your patients. Don't assume they only want mediocre dental care because they have crappy insurance or the low dental IQ, which I hate that phrase. Challenge them to get as healthy as they can be. It's totally worth it. Okay, rule number 8. There's a fine line between a mensch and a schmuck. If you're not sure what that means, a mensch is somebody that just loves doing good things for others. They're just the kind of person you want to know, you want to be friends with, the kind of person who, I don't know why people do this, but you see it all the time. If you're driving at 2 a.m. with a mattress on top of your car and it falls off and you need help, that's the kind of person you want to call. But a schmuck is a sucker, someone that people take advantage of. So there really is a fine line between a mensch and a schmuck, somebody who loves doing great things for people and somebody who gets taken advantage of. So be a mensch, not a schmuck. For example, So many times when I lecture, I'm talking about financial options and, we got to get paid up front or someone's going to take advantage of you. And if people can't afford to pay up front by cash, check, or credit card, let's get them applying for care credit so you can put the responsibility of collections off onto the professionals, the people who really know how to do it. You get paid and you forget about it. And then every now and then somebody will raise their hand and say, well, the only time I let someone do an in-house payment plan where they will pay me by the month is if care credit turns them down. And I'm thinking, you were just told by a professional finance company that this patient's going to screw you over. That's the last person you should be accepting monthly payments from. And they'll say, well, and then if they don't pay, I just write it off. I just consider it charity. It's not charity. You're a schmuck. You let somebody take advantage of you. Charity is different. I love doing charity dentistry. In my practice, we always had 2 or 3 complete, and I mean complete, charity cases going where we wouldn't charge that patient anything, no matter what they needed. But we chose the patient. We chose who we were going to do that on. We were mensches, but we weren't schmucks. So remember, there's a fine line between a mensch and a schmuck. Okay, moving on to rule number 9. The key to 90% of our problems in life is patience. This one's so important to me. I'm not even going to give a direct dental office corollary or lesson, but just remember, the key to 90% of problems is patience. Strangely, or maybe ironically, you don't really learn this until you get older. When you have fewer years left on the planet is when you realize that the key to so many problems is patience. If only you could know it when you were young, right? But you can't. Okay, rule number 10. And that is when something irritates you, when something really bothers you, ask yourself, will this matter 1 hour from now? Will it matter 1 day from now, 1 week from now? Will this matter in a month, in a year? And you'll find out the answer is just about always no. Just about everything that irritates us momentarily. You know what happens? We're using our fight or flight. It's kind of a tongue twister. Our fight or flight, or is it flight or fight? Doesn't matter. We're using that response that was hardwired into us from the caveman days. When the cavemen and cavewomen, if something happened, a pterodactyl was attacking them. I don't know if pterodactyls and cave people lived at the same time, so forget that one. That wild animal attacked them. Or someone else from their tribe came up to them with a big club trying to beat them. Well, you only have a couple choices there. You can fight back or you can run away as fast as you can. This caused them to survive, right? It was a survival mechanism. But those instincts are still hardwired in us. And when something bad happens, whether it's somebody cutting you off in traffic or a patient or a team member giving you a hard time, our instinct is flight or fight. And I'm going to urge you, take a deep breath. And something that's irritating you so much, just think to yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter in a month? Will this matter in a year? Probably not. Take action to remedy it, of course. I'm not saying just let it go like frozen, but chances are that thing that's irritating you so much is just a blip on the consciousness of your life. So forget about it. It's not going to matter in a short period of time. Okay, Rich's rule number 11. Inaction is just another form of making a decision, and very often it's the wrong one. So many times we say, I want to mull this over, I want to think about it, and then we just get sucked into inaction. Well, that's not doing nothing. That's making a decision. Chances are you've decided not to do something. Well, that's no different than if you decided right away, said, no, I'm not going to do that. When you just put things off, you're indecisive, and then you just kind of let it go on the back burner, you have made a decision not to do something. And I got to tell you, it drives me crazy when I see this from dentists who contact the Madow Center about coaching. I got to tell you, I'll just do kind of a little plug. Our coaching is phenomenal. We work with practices all across the country. And when we work with a practice for coaching, we don't stress them out. We don't make them print out a gazillion reports and give them busy work. We don't have modules and phases and videos that we force upon you. We structure custom coaching for every practice, and it works. Not only will your revenues go up when you work with us, but your enjoyment of practice will go up tremendously because we know how to make dentistry fun and lucrative. So, So often I'll chat with a dentist, and any dentist who owns a practice can chat with me. Just go on Madow.com/calendar. It's Madow.com/calendar. Put some time on my personal calendar. We'll get on a Zoom, we'll chat, no cost, no obligation. But so many times I'll chat with dentists about their practices, and then we'll have a second chat and a third chat, and they know we can help them, and things look great, and I know that we'll work well together, and they just say, well, okay, well, send me the agreement, I'm just going to stew on it a little bit, or mull it over, or marinate on it, or whatever, and then, boom, a year later, it's like they were hiking the Appalachian Trail, they get lost, and that is indecision. That's a form of making a decision. Not doing something is a form of a decision, and when the decision is no, oftentimes it's the wrong decision. Okay, Rich's rule number 12. It's never too late to do the right thing. It is sometimes you think, oh, I mean, just an example. Somebody passes away, like a friend of somebody you kind of don't know that well, and you think, I really should send them a little note or text them and tell them how sorry I am about it. Or it could be a close friend or relative, and you don't do it. Then 2 weeks pass, you think, the window's closed. It's way too late now to send them a condolence card or note. It's not. It's simply not. Nobody would mind getting one 2 weeks later or a year later. It's never too late to do the right thing. I'm not a big believer in New Year's resolutions, but I am going to beg you, if you are holding a grudge against a relative or an old friend and you haven't spoken for a long time, for years, whatever, please take the first step. Say, we're not going to talk about what happened in the past. Remember the other one, don't dwell in the past, there's no future of it. Reach out your hand, your olive branch, your hand to shake, whatever it is, your paw, I don't care what it is. Do your best to make up with that person. None of us are ever getting any younger. Every day that ticks by, we get older. It's one more day that you shouldn't be holding a grudge. It's never too late to apologize, to extend a peaceful handshake. Just do it as your New Year's resolution. I promise you won't regret it. Okay, rule number 13. I didn't write this one. Bob Dylan did, but it's one of my favorite phrases of all time, and that is, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Oh, I love that phrase. It's from the song Subterranean Homesick Blues, one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever written. Every line of that song is fabulous, but this was my favorite. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. And the way I interpret this personally or for dental practice is that something's going on. You know deep inside what the problem is. You know deep inside. You don't need the weatherman to tell you. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. So listen to yourself. Listen to your instincts and then take action. Okay, we're almost done. Rich's rule number 14. If it's easy, anyone can do it. That's right. If it's easy, anyone can do it. Growing the practice of your dreams, leading an amazing team, providing excellent dental treatment, none of these things are easy. But no matter how much you may be struggling to get there, I promise you there's a great practice in your area who's doing these things because they worked, they studied, they got help, they made the right moves, they weren't afraid to move forward. If it's easy, any dental practice can be great, but so few are. So if you want to grow the practice of your dreams, lead an amazing team, provide excellent dental treatment, make the commitment, and do what it takes. Rich's rule number 15. If it smells like dog everywhere you go, it's time to look at the bottom of your own shoes. I'm not going to expand on that one. I love that one, but I'm just going to read it again or say it again. If it smells like dog do everywhere you go, it's probably time to look at the bottom of your own shoes. Okay, we're almost done. Rich's rule number 16. 2 of the most important things in life are caring a lot and not caring at all. The secret is knowing when to do which. It's so funny. This is just a really minor example, but not long ago, I was speaking to a pretty large group. I think it was in the Midwest somewhere. And we were doing this little informal Q&A at the end, and some dentist raises their hand and says, I'm not sure what to do about this. 5 years ago, a patient came in and they stiffed me, and they still owe me $42.33. It's like, this is what you're worried about? 5 years ago, a patient stiffed you, which is your fault, by the way, And now you're worried about the $42 from 5 years ago. Come on, get over it. Forget it. Just move on. So that's a very minor example. But I think if you think about this, rule number 16, this is one of the most powerful ones. 2 of the most important things in life are caring a lot. There are some things that are so special, so important, so valuable, so loving, all those things that we need to care a lot about them. And the other thing is not caring at all. And the secret is knowing when to do which. So don't waste your energy on things that don't matter. Spend all of your energy, all of it, on the things that do. Okay, that's it for our special year-end edition of the Dental Practice Fixers podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please, wherever you're watching or listening, give us a review, a 5-star, a thumbs up, whatever it is. If you got a few more seconds, just write a little sentence or two about how much you enjoyed the podcast. We'll be back next time with mystery shopper calls and a more typical episode, but I really hope you enjoyed this one and got a lot out of it. I'm Dr. Richard Madow. I'm co-founder of the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success. You can find us at madow.com. That's MADOW.com. Send me a personal email, rich, R-I-C-H, at Madow, MADOW.com. Or if you want to put some time on my calendar, if you're a practice owner, it's just madow.com/calendar. And I just want to take this year-end episode ending to say, I really, really, really appreciate you. I know you could be listening to anything right now, good music, another podcast, news, sports, anything, but you chose to spend time with us at the Dental Practice Fixers. That means a lot to me. I take that job seriously, and I really want to provide you with incredible content, episode after episode after episode. So thanks so much for being here. Spread the word by writing us a review, and I will see you soon. Thanks.